Ladies, let me ask you something. What would you do if you opened your husband's briefcase and found a box of condoms? Would you scream? Would you cry? Would you confront him right there? I did none of those things. Instead of making a scene, I secretly used a syringe to inject sulfuric acid into them. That night, I received a call from the hospital emergency room. Your husband and your sister-in-law may need their lower bodies amputated. Upon hearing this, my brother-in-law collapsed on the spot. But before I tell you what happened next, let me take you back to where this nightmare began. My name is Emma Clark. I'm 29 years old, and for the past 5 years, I've been married to a man named Ryan Clark. On paper, Ryan was perfect. Successful marketing director, well-built, charming smile, the kind of man other women would stare at in restaurants. We had a beautiful house in the suburbs, 2 cars, and what everyone called the perfect marriage. But perfection is just a mask. And that mask started cracking 3 months before I found those condoms. It was a Tuesday evening. I remember because Tuesdays were my favorite days. Ryan would come home early, we'd cook together, watch a movie, pretend we were still the couple from our wedding photos. But that Tuesday he came home smelling different. Not his usual cologne. Something sweeter, fruitier, like strawberries. New client meeting, he said when I asked. The conference room had one of those plug-in air fresheners. Made me smell like a dessert shop, I laughed. He laughed. We ate dinner. Everything seemed normal, except it wasn't. Because after that Tuesday, the late nights started. Big project at work, babe. Don't wait up. His phone, which used to sit face up on the kitchen counter, was now always face down. Password changed. When I asked why, he said it was company policy for security reasons. Then came the business trips. Los Angeles, Seattle, Miami, always last minute, always urgent, and always he'd pack his own bag. Don't worry about it, Em. You're already doing so much around the house. How considerate, right? But here's the thing about lies. They leave traces, little breadcrumbs that, if you're paying attention, lead you straight to the truth. 3 weeks before I found the condoms, I was doing laundry. Ryan's shirt pocket had a receipt from a restaurant called the Violet Room. Expensive place, romantic. I'd been begging him to take me there for our anniversary, but he said it was overpriced and overrated. The receipt showed 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine, 1 dessert to share. Date night for 2, except that night, Ryan told me he was working late at the office, eating vending machine food. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed more proof. Because accusing your husband of cheating without evidence? That just makes you look crazy. And I wasn't going to be the crazy wife, so I started watching, observing, taking mental notes. His gym sessions got longer. He started wearing cologne to run errands. He smiled at his phone more than he smiled at me. And then one morning I saw it, a long red hair on his jacket shoulder. I'm a brunette. I don't have any redhead friends. Neither does he. Or so I thought. That's when the pieces started falling into place. Ryan's younger sister-in-law, Jessica, had just dyed her hair red 2 months ago. Jessica, who was married to Ryan's brother, Marcus. Jessica, who always wore strawberry-scented perfume. Jessica, who would giggle at Ryan's jokes a little too loud at family dinners. No, it couldn't be. But the universe has a cruel sense of humor, doesn't it? Last month, we had a family barbecue at Marcus and Jessica's house. I was in the kitchen helping Marcus with the drinks when I overheard Ryan and Jessica on the back patio. The door was slightly open. We have to be more careful, Ryan's voice, low and tense. I know. But it's so hard when you're right there and I can't even touch you. That was Jessica. Sweet, innocent Jessica who called me sis and hugged me every time we met next week. The Riverside Hotel. I'll tell Emma I have a conference. And I'll tell Marcus I'm visiting my mom. My hands froze on the ice tray. My heart stopped. For a moment, I thought I was going to pass out right there on Marcus's kitchen floor. But I didn't. Instead, I walked back outside with the drinks, smiled, laughed at their jokes, and played the perfect sister-in-law because I had a plan forming in my mind. A dark, terrible, beautiful plan. I spent the next 2 weeks preparing. I bought a small syringe from a pharmacy, told the clerk I needed it for my diabetic cat. I researched chemical burns, hospital procedures, legal loopholes. I watched Ryan pack for his conference, watched him lie to my face with that charming smile. And then The night before his trip, I offered to help him pack. "You're so sweet." "Babe," he said, kissing my forehead. That kiss felt like ice. While he was in the shower, I opened his briefcase. And there they were, a brand new box of condoms, strawberry flavored, ultra thin, the expensive kind, the kind we never used because Ryan said he was allergic to latex, so we always used a different brand. Funny how allergies disappear when you're cheating, isn't it? I sat there on our bedroom floor, holding that box, and something inside me shattered. Not my heart, that had broken weeks ago. No, this was something deeper. My faith in love, in loyalty, in the man I'd given 5 years of my life to, but I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just smiled, because I knew exactly what I was going to do. That night, after Ryan fell asleep, I went to the kitchen. Under the sink, behind the cleaning supplies, I found the bottle of industrial drain cleaner I'd bought earlier that week. The label warned, "Extreme corrosive. Can cause severe chemical burns. Keep away from skin and eyes." Perfect. My hands were steady as I filled the syringe. No shaking, no hesitation. It's amazing what clarity rage can bring. I took the condom box to the bathroom, locked the door, and turned on the fan to cover any sound. One by one, I carefully punctured each wrapper with the needle, tiny holes almost invisible. Then I injected just a few drops of the chemical into each one. The liquid absorbed into the lubricant instantly. You couldn't see it, couldn't smell it, couldn't tell anything was wrong. I put everything back exactly as I'd found it. Returned the drain cleaner to its spot, washed the syringe, and hid it in my art supplies drawer. Ryan never looked there anyway. Then I climbed back into bed, next to my husband, the man who was planning to betray me with his own brother's wife, and I slept like a baby. The next morning was almost funny. Ryan was nervous, I could tell. He kept checking his phone, rechecking his suitcase. "You okay?" I asked, pouring his coffee. Yeah, just, big presentation today." "I'm sure you'll be amazing," I said, handing him his mug. "You always are," he smiled, relieved, thinking I was still his innocent, trusting wife. As he loaded his car, I stood at the door waving like a 1950s housewife. "Drive safe, love you." "Love you too, Em." Such a beautiful lie. After his car disappeared around the corner, I went back inside and made myself breakfast. Eggs, toast, fresh coffee. I ate slowly, deliberately, savoring every bite. Then I cleaned up, took a long shower, and got dressed. I had errands to run. First stop, a lawyer's office downtown. I'd made the appointment a week ago under a fake name. The lawyer, a sharp woman named Victoria Cross, listened to my story without judgment. "Do you have proof of the affair?" she asked. I pulled out my phone. Screenshots of Ryan's credit card statements, hotel charges, expensive dinners, jewelry I'd never received. Screenshots of text messages I'd recovered from our shared cloud account before he changed the password. Nothing explicit, but enough to show a pattern. "This is good," Victoria said. "In this state, adultery affects asset division. You could walk away with significantly more than half. What about if something happens to him, medically?" Victoria's eyebrow raised slightly. "Define medically." "Hypothetically, if he were injured in a way that affects his future earning potential, does that change anything?" She leaned back in her chair, studying me. "Mrs. Clark, I need to advise you. I'm not planning to hurt anyone," I said quickly. "I'm just exploring all scenarios. My husband travels a lot. Accidents happen," a long pause. Then, "Hypothetically, if he becomes unable to work, and you can prove the affair caused emotional distress leading to your inability to work, you could claim spousal support in addition to asset division." I smiled. "Thank you, Victoria. I'll be in touch." Next stop, the bank. I withdrew half of our savings, my legal right as a joint account holder, and opened a new account in my name only at a different bank. $15,000, enough to start over if I needed to. Then I went to see my friend Rachel. Rachel, who worked as a nurse at Memorial Hospital. Rachel, who owed me a favor after I'd helped her through her own messy divorce last year. Emma, she hugged me at the hospital cafeteria. "What's going on? You sounded stressed on the phone." I told her everything. Ryan, Jessica, the condoms. "The plan." Her face went pale. "Emma, you can't be serious." "I already did it," I said calmly. "Last night. He left this morning." "Oh my God." She covered her mouth. Do you realize what you've done? That's assault. It's justice, I interrupted. Rachel, he's been sleeping with his brother's wife for months, while lying to my face every single day. He deserves this, but if they trace it back to you, they won't. No one knows about the drain cleaner except you, and you're not going to tell anyone, right? She stared at me for a long moment. Then slowly, she shook her head. You've changed, Em. No, I said. I just stopped being a doormat, Rachel sighed. Fine. But when they come to the ER tonight, and they will, I'll make sure the documentation is vague. Chemical burns from unknown source. Could be a manufacturing defect in the products. Happens sometimes. Thank you. Don't thank me, just promise me this is the end of it. No more revenge plots, I smiled. I promise, another lie, because I was just getting started. That evening I made myself dinner, pasta with pesto, my favorite. I poured a glass of wine, put on some jazz music, and I waited. Around 9 p.m., my phone rang. Marcus. Emma? Have you heard from Ryan? My heart started racing, but I kept my voice steady. No, why? Isn't he at his conference? That's the thing. Jessica went to visit her mom, but her mom just called me asking when she's arriving. She never showed up, and Ryan's not answering his phone. That's strange, I said, adding just the right amount of concern. Maybe they're both stuck in traffic. You know how the highways get. Maybe. Marcus didn't sound convinced. If you hear from him, call me, okay? Of course. I hung up and took a long sip of wine. The waiting was the hardest part. At 2:17 a.m., my phone lit up. Unknown number, Mrs. Clark? This is Memorial Hospital Emergency Department. Your husband has been brought in with severe injuries. You need to come immediately. What happened? I asked, letting my voice crack perfectly. I can't discuss details over the phone. Please come as soon as possible. I threw on clothes, grabbed my purse, and drove to the hospital. But I didn't rush. I obeyed every speed limit, stopped at every red light, because I needed time to prepare my face, my story, my reaction. The ER waiting room was chaos. Marcus was there, pacing like a caged animal. When he saw me, he rushed over. Emma, oh God, Emma, what happened? Where's Ryan? His face crumpled. He's in surgery. And Jessica? He couldn't finish the sentence. A doctor approached us. Tired eyes, blood on her scrubs. Family of Ryan Clark and Jessica Morrison? We both nodded. I'm Dr. Patel. I need to inform you that both patients have suffered severe chemical burns to their genital areas. The damage is extensive. Chemical burns? I whispered. How? We're not entirely sure yet. It appears the burns occurred during intimate contact. We found traces of a corrosive substance, possibly sulfuric acid-based, in their systems. Marcus made a sound like a wounded animal. I reached out to steady him, playing the supportive sister-in-law. Will they be okay? I asked. Dr. Patel's face was grim. Mr. Clark has suffered partial destruction of his external genitalia. We've done what we can, but he'll likely have permanent dysfunction and severe scarring. As for Mrs. Morrison, the internal damage was significant. We had to perform an emergency hysterectomy. The room spun. I'd expected burns, maybe some pain, but this was beyond anything I'd imagined. Can we see them? Marcus asked, his voice broken. Mr. Clark is in recovery. Mrs. Morrison is still in surgery. You can see him in about an hour. As the doctor walked away, Marcus turned to me. His eyes were red, filled with tears. Emma, the doctor said they were together. That they were... I know, I said softly. I'm so sorry, Marcus. He collapsed into a chair, head in his hands. My own brother, my own wife. I sat next to him, put my hand on his shoulder, and I felt nothing, no guilt, no remorse. Just a cold, satisfied emptiness, because Ryan Clark and Jessica Morrison had destroyed their own lives. I just helped speed up the process. The hospital corridor smelled like antiseptic and broken dreams. I sat in that uncomfortable plastic chair for 3 hours, watching Marcus fall apart piece by piece. His phone kept ringing. His parents, Jessica's parents, friends asking what happened. He didn't answer any of them. How am I supposed to tell them? He whispered. How do I explain that my wife was cheating on me with my brother? You don't, I said quietly. Not yet. Let's just focus on getting through tonight. Around 5 a.m., a nurse finally came to get us. Mr. Clark is awake. He's asking for his wife. My stomach tightened. This was it. The moment I'd have to look Ryan in the eyes and pretend I didn't know exactly what I'd done to him. The recovery room was dimly lit. Ryan lay in the hospital bed, connected to various machines. His face was pale, twisted in pain, even through the medication. When he saw me, something flickered in his eyes. Fear? Guilt? I couldn't tell. Emma. His voice was rough, broken. I rushed to his bedside, took his hand, the perfect concerned wife. Oh my God, Ryan, what happened? The doctor said something about chemical burns. He looked away. There was an accident. What kind of accident? Silence, heavy and suffocating. Mr. Clark? A police officer appeared in the doorway. I hadn't noticed him there before. I'm Detective Morrison. I need to ask you some questions about tonight. Ryan's grip on my hand tightened. Not now, I'm not feeling well. I understand, but this is important. We found evidence that suggests the condoms you used tonight were tampered with. Someone deliberately injected a corrosive substance into them. The room went cold. Tampered? I repeated, my voice perfectly shocked. Who would do something like that? Detective Morrison looked at me. That's what we're trying to figure out. Mrs. Clark, when did you last see your husband? Yesterday morning. He left for a business conference in Chicago. And did you pack his luggage? No, he packed it himself. He always does for work trips. The detective wrote something in his notebook. Did you notice anything unusual? Anyone suspicious around your house? I shook my head. Nothing. Everything was normal. Ryan made a choking sound. We all turned to look at him. His face had gone even paler, if that was possible. I need to speak with my wife, he said. Alone, Detective Morrison hesitated. Mr. Clark, please, just give us a few minutes. The officer nodded and stepped outside. Marcus followed him, throwing one last betrayed look at his brother. As soon as the door closed, Ryan's hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. Hard. What did you do? I blinked innocently. What are you talking about? The condoms, Emma. What did you do to them? I didn't touch your condoms, Ryan. Technically true. I'd injected them, not touched them. Maybe you should ask Jessica if she did something. You know, a jealous lover's revenge? His eyes widened. You know about Jessica? Of course I know, I said, pulling my wrist free. Did you really think I was that stupid? I've known for months. Then why didn't you say anything? I leaned in close, my voice dropping to a whisper. Because I wanted you to suffer, the same way you made me suffer every time you lied to my face. Every time you kissed me after being with her. Every time you made me feel like I was losing my mind. You tried to hurt me on purpose, he breathed. You poisoned those condoms. Prove it, I said simply. Prove that I knew about the affair. Prove that I had access to your briefcase. Prove that I had any reason to want to hurt you. Ryan stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. You're insane. No, I corrected. I'm just done being your fool. The door opened. Dr. Patel entered with a clipboard. Mr. Clark, I need to discuss your prognosis. I straightened up, shifting back into concerned wife mode. Of course, doctor. Whatever he needs. Dr. Patel looked uncomfortable. The damage to your reproductive organs is permanent. We were able to save the testicles, but the scarring to the shaft area is severe. You'll likely experience complete loss of sensation and function. I'm very sorry. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Ryan's face crumpled. You mean I can never? I'm afraid not. We'll refer you to a specialist, but realistically, the chances of regaining any sexual function are less than 5%. I watched my husband, the man who'd thrown away our marriage for cheap, thrills with his sister-in-law, process the fact that his sex life was over. Forever. And I felt absolutely nothing. What about children? Ryan whispered. Can I still have children? The testicles are functional, so technically, yes, sperm production should continue. But given the extent of the external damage, natural conception would be impossible. You'd need to consider assisted reproductive technology. Ryan turned to look at me, something desperate in his eyes. Emma, we could still— No, I cut him off. We couldn't. What do you mean? I pulled my hand away from his. I mean, I'm filing for divorce, Ryan. This marriage is over. You can't be serious. I'm injured. I need you. You needed me when you were screwing your brother's wife? My voice was ice. You needed me when you were lying to my face every day for 6 months? When you were spending our money on hotel rooms and expensive dinners for her? Dr. Patel cleared her throat awkwardly. I'll give you two some privacy. After she left, Ryan tried again. Emma, please. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to take out the trash. What you did was a choice. Multiple choices, over and over again. I'll change. I'll do anything. Just don't leave me like this. I stood up, gathering my purse. You should have thought about that before you packed those condoms in your briefcase. His face went white. So you admit it. You did tamper with them. I smiled. I admit nothing. But hypothetically, if someone had found out their husband was cheating and that someone had injected drain cleaner into those condoms, well, I'd say that hypothetical person showed remarkable restraint. Because honestly, Ryan, you're lucky you only lost your ability to have sex. You could have lost so much more. I walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and the police? They won't find anything. No fingerprints, no evidence, nothing. Because I'm very, very careful. You're not going to get away with this, he said, his voice shaking with rage and fear. I already have, I replied. And here's the beautiful part. Even if you told the police everything, even if they believed you, which they won't, you'd have to admit you were cheating. You'd have to explain why you had condoms in your briefcase when you were supposed to be at a business conference. You'd destroy your career, your reputation, your relationship with your entire family. All to maybe, possibly get revenge on a wife who simply snapped under the pressure of discovering her husband's affair. The truth of it settled over him like a blanket. That's what I'll tell them if asked, I continued. That I discovered the affair, confronted you, and in my emotional distress, I wasn't thinking clearly. Temporary insanity brought on by severe emotional trauma. Any jury would sympathize. Some might even call me a hero. You really are insane, Ryan whispered. No, I said, opening the door. I'm just done being powerless. In the hallway, Marcus was arguing with Detective Morrison. When they saw me, they both stopped. Mrs. Clark, the detective approached. I need to ask you a few more questions. Of course, Detective. I want to help in any way I can. We moved to a small conference room. Marcus followed, his face a mask of pain. When did you find out about the affair? Detective Morrison asked, getting straight to the point. I took a shaky breath, channeling every acting class I'd never taken. About a week ago, I found hotel receipts in Ryan's jacket pocket. At first, I thought he was just treating clients to expensive dinners. But then I found messages on our shared tablet. He'd forgotten to delete them there. They were planning to meet at the Riverside Hotel. And what did you do with this information? I didn't know what to do. I was devastated, confused. I thought about confronting him, but I wasn't ready. I needed time to process it. Did you tamper with any of his belongings? His luggage, his personal items? I met his eyes. No, Detective. I didn't touch anything. I was too hurt to even look at his things. Marcus spoke up. Detective, Emma wouldn't do something like this. She's one of the kindest people I know. This is Ryan and Jessica's mess. Maybe they bought defective products. Maybe someone else found out about the affair and wanted revenge. The detective studied me for a long moment. Then he closed his notebook. All right, we'll continue investigating. If you think of anything else, please contact me. Of course. As he left, Marcus turned to me. Emma, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. If I'd known Jessica was doing this to you, to us. I reached out and squeezed his hand. It's not your fault, Marcus. They made their choices. Now they have to live with the consequences. 3 days after the hospital, I was sitting in my lawyer Victoria's office, signing divorce papers. My hand didn't shake once. This is very comprehensive, Victoria said, reviewing the documents. You're asking for the house, the car, 70% of savings, and alimony for 3 years. Is that too much? No, she smiled. Given the circumstances, documented infidelity, emotional distress, the fact that his injuries now limit his earning potential, I'd say you're being generous. We could push for more. I just want this over with. He'll fight it. You know that, right? I shrugged. Let him fight. I have receipts, photos, witness statements. Marcus has already agreed to testify about finding them together. Ryan has nothing except excuses. As if on cue, my phone rang. Ryan's mother. Hello, Patricia. Emma, dear, we need to talk. About Ryan. There's nothing to talk about. He made a mistake. A terrible mistake, yes, but he's suffering enough. Do you really need to divorce him while he's in this condition? I laughed. Actually laughed. Patricia, your son destroyed our marriage and his brother's marriage. He lied, cheated, and betrayed everyone who loved him. And now you're asking me to stand by him? He's family. No, he was my husband. Past tense. And terrible husbands don't deserve loyal wives. You've changed, Emma. You used to be such a sweet girl. Sweet girls get walked all over, I said. I'm done being sweet. I hung up before she could respond. Victoria raised an eyebrow. Mother-in-law problems? Not anymore. I'm divorcing the whole family. Over the next week, the investigation into the defective condoms continued. Detective Morrison interviewed me twice more, each time asking the same questions in different ways. Each time I gave the same answers. Calm, consistent, devastated but composed. Rachel called me on day 5. Emma, they're going to rule it as a manufacturing defect. My heart skipped. How do you know? The police sent the remaining condoms to 3 different labs. They all found sulfuric acid, but no evidence of external tampering. The prevailing theory is that there was a contamination during the manufacturing process. It's rare, but it happens. So I'm clear? Completely. The manufacturer is already facing a lawsuit. Ryan and Jessica will probably get a huge settlement, I smiled. Good for them. Maybe they can use the money for therapy. Emma? I know what you're going to say, Rachel. And I don't regret it. I'd do it again. Silence on the other end. Then, you're scaring me a little. Don't be scared. Be inspired. We spend our whole lives being told to forgive, to be the bigger person, to turn the other cheek. But what about justice? What about making people face consequences for their actions? Justice and revenge aren't the same thing. Aren't they, though? She sighed. Just be careful, okay? This kind of anger, it can eat you alive. Don't worry, I said. I'm not angry anymore. I'm free. That weekend, I boxed up all of Ryan's belongings, clothes, books, that stupid golf set he never used. I hired a moving company to deliver everything to his parents' house, where he was recovering. I also changed the locks, repainted the bedroom, got rid of our old mattress and bought a new one, erased every trace of Ryan Clark from my home. It felt like spring cleaning for the soul. On Monday, I received an unexpected visitor. Jessica's mother, Carol. She stood on my doorstep, eyes red from crying. May I come in? I hesitated, then stepped aside. We sat in the living room, the space between us heavy with unspoken words. My daughter will never have children, Carol said finally. They removed her uterus. She's 27 years old, and she'll never be a mother. I'm sorry, I said, and surprisingly, I meant it a little. Are you? Or are you satisfied? I met her eyes. Carol, I didn't force Jessica to sleep with my husband. I didn't make her lie to Marcus, to me, to everyone who trusted her. She made choices. Those choices had consequences. You could have just divorced Ryan. You didn't have to destroy them like this. You're right. I could have divorced him quietly, split our assets 50-50, and let him go on to live his happy little life with Jessica. And you know what would have happened? They would have gotten married eventually, had their perfect family, and everyone would have said, "Oh, isn't it romantic how they found each other?" No one would have remembered Marcus or me. We'd just be the obstacles they overcame for their great love story. Carol flinched. But now, I continued, now everyone knows what they did. Now they have to live with the physical scars to match the emotional ones they gave us. Now, when people ask Jessica why she can't have children, she'll have to either lie or admit the truth. Same for Ryan. You're cruel, Carol whispered. No, I said. I'm just done being merciful to people who showed me none. She left without another word. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Carol said. Was I cruel? Had I gone too far? I thought about the night I found those condoms. The way my hands shook, the way my heart broke, the way I felt like I was drowning in my own home, in my own marriage. I thought about all the times Ryan kissed me after being with Jessica. The lies, the manipulation, the way he made me feel crazy for suspecting anything was wrong, and I realized I wasn't cruel. I was survival. The next morning I got a call from Detective Morrison. Mrs. Clark, I wanted to let you know we're closing the investigation. The manufacturer has taken responsibility for the contamination. You and your husband are free to pursue legal action against them if you choose. Thank you, Detective. One more thing. He paused. Off the record, I've been doing this job for 20 years. I've seen a lot of betrayed spouses. Most of them fall apart, but you've handled this with remarkable composure. I had good reason to stay composed, Detective. I'm sure you did. Take care of yourself, Mrs. Clark. After he hung up, I sat in my kitchen, sunlight streaming through the window, and I smiled. I'd won. Completely and utterly won, but something was nagging at me. A loose end I couldn't ignore. Marcus. He'd been calling me every day, checking in, asking if I needed anything. At first I thought he was just being nice, but his calls were getting longer, more personal. He'd started sharing things about his relationship with Jessica, things he'd never noticed were wrong until now. She always compared me to Ryan, he said during one call. His job, his car, his looks. I thought she was just, I don't know, teasing, but looking back, it was like she wished she'd married him instead of me. I'm sorry, Marcus. Don't be. You tried to warn me once, remember? At that Christmas party 2 years ago. You said Jessica seemed too interested in Ryan's stories. I laughed it off. I did remember. I'd been so subtle about it, not wanting to cause family drama. How naive I'd been. Emma, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you think people can change? Like fundamentally change who they are? I don't know, I said honestly. But I think pain can reveal who people really were all along. Maybe we just weren't paying attention. Yeah, he said softly. Yeah, maybe. A week later, Marcus showed up at my door with wine and takeout. I hope you don't mind, he said. I didn't want to be alone tonight, and I figured you might feel the same. We ate on my couch, watching mindless TV, not talking about our exes or the hospital or the investigation. It was nice, normal, human. Around midnight, as he was leaving, Marcus turned to me. Emma, I know this is complicated. Everything that's happened, but I want you to know, you're not alone. Whatever you need, I'm here. Thank you, Marcus. That means a lot. He hesitated, then hugged me. A real hug, not the awkward family obligation kind. And for the first time in months, I felt something other than anger or satisfaction. I felt hope. 2 months after the accident, I was settling into my new life. The divorce was proceeding smoothly. Ryan's lawyer kept trying to negotiate better terms, but Victoria shut them down every time. Ryan couldn't argue adultery when half the city knew what he'd done. I'd started working again, taking freelance graphic design projects from home. The money wasn't great, but it was mine, earned honestly. Marcus and I had been spending more time together, coffee dates, dinners, movie nights. Nothing romantic, just 2 people healing from the same betrayal. At least that's what I told myself. But then everything changed on a Tuesday afternoon. I was at the grocery store, minding my own business in the frozen food aisle, when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Emma Clark. Fancy meeting you here. I turned to see Detective Morrison, off-duty in jeans and a polo shirt. He had a cart with nothing but frozen pizzas and beer. Detective. Shopping for the week? He laughed. Bachelor life. My ex-wife got the cooking skills in the divorce. He paused. Actually, I'm glad I ran into you. Something's been bothering me about your case. My blood ran cold, but I kept my face neutral. The case is closed, isn't it? Officially, yes. But I'm a curious person by nature. He leaned against his cart casually. See, I pulled the security footage from your neighborhood around the time your husband packed for his trip. My heart was pounding, but I forced myself to breathe normally. And there's a gap. 2 hours missing from the night before he left. The camera on your street mysteriously malfunctioned. I shrugged. Those cameras malfunction all the time. The HOA is always complaining about it. True. But what's interesting is that the camera started working again exactly 2 hours later, right after the window when someone would have had access to your husband's briefcase. Detective, are you accusing me of something? No, he said, but his eyes were sharp. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if someone wanted to tamper with evidence and had the technical knowledge to disable a security camera, say, someone who took computer programming courses in college, that person would be very smart. Smart enough to know that sulfuric acid degrades quickly in certain conditions, making it nearly impossible to determine when contamination occurred. I met his gaze. That does sound like a smart person, hypothetically. It does, he agreed. You know what else is interesting? Your friend Rachel, the nurse. She was on duty the night your husband came in. She's the one who wrote up the initial incident report. Rachel's a good nurse. Very thorough, she is. Very thorough in making sure certain details were vague, almost like she was protecting someone. The frozen peas in my hand were making my fingers numb. I put them in my cart slowly. Detective Morrison, I think you're reading too much into coincidences. Maybe, he said. Or maybe I'm just really good at my job. He started pushing his cart away, then stopped. Oh, and Emma. Your husband? He's been talking, telling anyone who'll listen that you did this on purpose, that you knew about the affair and poisoned those condoms as revenge. People say a lot of things when they're hurt and angry. They do. But here's the thing, nobody believes him. You know why? Because you played the perfect victim. Shocked, betrayed, but composed and dignified. Everyone sympathizes with you. You're the hero of this story. I'm not a hero, detective. I'm just someone who survived a terrible situation. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Right. Well, enjoy your shopping, Mrs. Clark. And remember, sometimes the smartest criminals are the ones who know when to stop. 1 perfect crime is genius. 2, that's a pattern. He walked away, leaving me frozen in the frozen food aisle. He knew. He couldn't prove it, but he knew. I abandoned my cart and rushed to my car. My hands were shaking as I called Rachel. Emma? What's wrong? Morrison knows. He just cornered me at the grocery store. He knows about the cameras. He knows you wrote the report. Calm down, Rachel said firmly. He can't prove anything. We were careful. He's watching me, Rachel. What if he's building a case? Then we stick to the story. Manufacturing defect. You were traumatized and in shock. I followed standard protocol in documenting the injuries. There's nothing he can use. But what if Ryan convinces someone? What if they reopen the investigation? Rachel was quiet for a moment. Emma, you need to listen to me very carefully. Right now, you're safe, because everyone believes you're the victim. But if you start acting paranoid, if you slip up, if you do anything that looks suspicious, that changes. So you need to hold it together. Go home. Act normal. Live your life. She was right. I knew she was right. But that night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. Every car that passed my house made me wonder if it was an unmarked police vehicle watching me. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I know what you did, and I can prove it. My blood turned to ice. I called the number immediately. It rang twice, then a woman answered. Hello, Emma. Jessica, how did you get this number? I have my ways. Her voice was different now, harder. We need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. Oh, I think we do. See, I've been doing some thinking while lying in this hospital bed, unable to walk properly, unable to have children, unable to do anything except think. And something occurred to me. I didn't respond. The night before everything happened, you and I were at that family barbecue. Remember? You went inside to help Marcus with drinks. But before that, you went to the bathroom. The bathroom right next to the bedroom where Ryan and I were talking. My mouth went dry. You heard us, didn't you? You heard us planning to meet at the hotel. That's why you knew which condoms to poison. You knew Ryan would buy strawberry-flavored ones. My favorite. This is insane, Jessica. The condoms were contaminated at the factory. Was it, though? She interrupted. Or did a desperate, angry wife decide to take justice into her own hands? Because I've been researching, Emma. Did you know that sulfuric acid, when properly diluted, can be virtually undetectable in certain conditions? Did you know that a skilled person could inject it into sealed packaging without leaving obvious marks? You're reaching, am I? Then explain this. I heard rustling, like she was holding something. I found something interesting in Ryan's belongings. A receipt from a hardware store. Dated 2 days before his trip. Guess what he bought? My heart stopped. Nothing, she continued. There's no itemized list. The receipt just says miscellaneous supplies. But when I called the store and described Ryan, the clerk remembered him. Said he was with a woman. Brown hair, about 5'6", wearing a blue jacket. I'd worn a blue jacket that day. I'd gone to 3 different stores to buy supplies, spreading out the purchases so nothing would look suspicious. But I'd forgotten about receipts. Here's what I think happened, Jessica said. I think you followed Ryan to that store. I think you watched what he bought, probably toiletries, travel items. And I think you bought your own supplies at the same time, maybe even from the same clerk. You have no proof, not yet, but I will. And when I do, I'm going to destroy you the same way you destroyed me. Jessica, even if any of this fantasy were true, who would believe you? You're the mistress, the homewrecker. Everyone in this city hates you right now. Any accusation you make against me would sound like desperate revenge. She laughed bitterly. Maybe, but I don't need everyone to believe me. I just need one person. One detective who's already suspicious. One prosecutor looking for a career-making case. One jury member who thinks you went too far. Good luck with that. Oh, I don't need luck, Emma. I need time. And I have plenty of that now, seeing as how I can't work, can't have a social life, can barely leave my house without people staring at me like I'm a monster. So I'm going to spend every day, every hour finding proof. And when I do, I hung up. My entire body was shaking. I'd been so careful, so meticulous. But I'd missed something. A receipt. A clerk who remembered. It wasn't enough to convict me, not yet. But it was a thread. And if Jessica pulled hard enough, the whole thing could unravel. I needed to think, to plan. The next morning I called Marcus. Can you come over? I need to talk to you about something. When he arrived, I was pacing in my kitchen, coffee untouched on the counter. Emma, what's going on? You sounded panicked. Jessica called me last night. She knows. She knows I tampered with the condoms. Marcus's face went pale. What? How? She overheard Ryan and me talking at the hospital. Or she's figured it out. I don't know. But she's threatening to go to the police. But she can't prove anything, right? I told him about the receipt, the clerk, Detective Morrison's suspicions. Marcus sat down heavily. Oh, God. Emma, what are we going to do? We? You think I'm going to let you go through this alone? He looked up at me, his eyes intense. After everything my brother did to you? To us? If anyone deserves to pay, it's him and Jessica. Marcus, you can't get involved in this. You have your career, your reputation. I don't care about any of that. He stood up, took my hands. Emma, you did what you had to do. What I wish I'd had the courage to do. You made them face consequences for their actions. That's not wrong. That's justice. The law might disagree. Then we'll fight the law. Together. Looking into his eyes, I saw something I hadn't seen in years. Someone who truly saw me. Not as the perfect wife, not as the victim, not as the villain. Just as Emma, flawed, broken, but surviving. Okay, I whispered. Together. What I didn't know then was that Marcus had his own secrets, his own plans, and they were about to change everything. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus became my constant companion. We met every day, strategizing, planning our defense against Jessica's accusations. But something else was happening too. Something I hadn't expected. I was falling for him. Not the desperate, needy kind of falling that happens when you're vulnerable. But something real. Something built on mutual respect and understanding. You know what's funny? Marcus said one evening as we sat on my porch watching the sunset. A year ago, if someone had told me I'd be helping cover up my brother's injury, I would have called them crazy. Do you regret it? Not even a little. He turned to look at me. Ryan had everything. Our parents' approval, the successful career, the beautiful wife. And he threw it all away because he was greedy. He wanted more. He always wanted more. And now he has nothing. Exactly. Marcus smiled, but it was sad. Is that wrong? That I'm not sorry he's suffering? If it is, then we're both wrong. He reached over and took my hand. This time, it felt different. Intentional. Emma, I need to tell you something. My heart raced. What? The night everything happened, I wasn't surprised when I got the call about Jessica and Ryan being in the hospital together. I was relieved. I pulled my hand back. What do you mean? I mean, I knew, Emma. I'd known about the affair for 3 months. The world tilted. You knew? I hired a private investigator after Jessica started acting strange. He confirmed everything. The hotels, the lies, all of it. Why didn't you say anything? Marcus stood up, walked to the porch railing. Because I was a coward. I didn't want to admit my wife preferred my brother. I didn't want the humiliation. So I just watched and waited, hoping it would end on its own. But then I found the condoms. Right. And when you came to that family barbecue, I could see it in your eyes. You knew too. And I thought, he turned to face me. I thought maybe you'd confront them, make them stop, save both our marriages. Instead, I destroyed them. You gave them what they deserved, Marcus corrected. And honestly, when I got that call from the hospital, my first thought wasn't horror or sadness. It was gratitude. I stood up slowly. Gratitude? Someone finally made them pay. Someone had the courage I didn't have. He stepped closer. Emma, I know what you did. I've known from the beginning. And I don't care. In fact, I'm glad. You're glad I maimed your brother? I'm glad you refused to be a victim. I'm glad you took your power back. He was inches from me now. And I'm glad because it means Jessica will never have what she wanted. She wanted Ryan, wanted the perfect life with him. Now she can't have children, can't have a normal relationship, can't have anything. And Ryan can't give her anything either. Marcus, that's dark? Twisted, he smiled. Maybe, but after what they did to us, don't we deserve a little darkness? He had a point. There's something else, Marcus said. That receipt Jessica mentioned? I know which store. And I know the clerk. How? Because I was there that day too. Not with you, I was following Jessica. She was buying lingerie. Strawberry-scented lingerie. His jaw clenched. I saw you in the store looking at cleaning supplies. At the time I thought it was just a coincidence. But later, after everything happened, I put the pieces together. So you've known this whole time that I… Yes. And you didn't say anything? Why would I? You did what I wish I'd done. You protected both of us from becoming laughingstocks, from spending years in painful dead marriages. I studied his face, looking for deception, for manipulation. But I only saw truth. The clerk, I said. Can he identify me? He could, but he won't. How do you know? Marcus pulled out his phone, showed me a photo. It was the receipt Jessica had mentioned, along with a detailed statement. I went back to the store last week. Talked to the manager. Turns out they have a policy. They destroy detailed transaction records after 60 days for privacy reasons. This receipt? It exists, but the itemized portion has been purged from their system. And the clerk? Has a terrible memory for faces, especially after I made a generous donation to his favorite charity. Marcus put the phone away. Jessica has nothing but a hunch and a piece of paper that proves Ryan was at the store. That's it. Relief flooded through me. You did that for me? I did it for us. He cupped my face gently. Emma, I know this is complicated. I know the timing is terrible, but I have to tell you, I'm in love with you. I have been for years. Years? Since the first day Ryan brought you to meet the family. I saw you and thought, that's the woman I should have found first. But Ryan got to you before I did. And I respected that. I stayed away, kept my feelings buried. But now? He searched my eyes. Now we're both free. And I don't want to waste any more time. I should have pulled away. Should have told him it was too soon, too complicated, too wrong. Instead, I kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative. Then deeper, more urgent. Years of pain and longing and suppressed desire pouring out in that single moment. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. This is insane, I whispered. I know. People will judge us. They'll say we're terrible people who deserve each other. Let them. Marcus, if we do this, if we actually try to be together, it changes everything. The divorce proceedings, the family dynamics, everything. Good, he said. I want everything to change. The old life, the old rules, the old version of us who let people walk all over us, that's dead. I want to build something new, with you. I looked at this man, my ex-husband's brother, my former brother-in-law, and realized he was right. The old rules didn't apply anymore. We'd both been destroyed and rebuilt. Why not rebuild together? Okay, I said. But we do this smart. No public displays until the divorces are final. No giving Jessica or Ryan ammunition to use against us. Agreed. And we deal with Jessica's accusations together. As a team. Absolutely. Over the next month, Marcus and I became a well-oiled machine. He handled the legal side, hiring lawyers, gathering evidence of Jessica's instability, building a case that her accusations were the desperate ravings of a scorned woman. I handled the social side, maintaining my image as the dignified, wronged wife, gaining sympathy from our social circle. Meanwhile, Jessica's mental state was deteriorating. She'd posted several unhinged rants on social media about me, calling me a calculating witch and a psychopath. Each post made her look more unstable and me more sympathetic. Ryan wasn't much better. He'd been staying with his parents, and according to Marcus's mother, who'd started confiding in me of all people, he was deeply depressed. Couldn't work, couldn't function, spent most days in bed. Part of me felt guilt, a small part, but then I'd remember his lies, his betrayal, the way he'd made me feel crazy for suspecting the truth, and the guilt would evaporate. In month 3, Jessica made her move. She filed a police report formally accusing me of assault and attempted murder. Detective Morrison was forced to reopen the investigation. I was brought in for questioning again. This time, Marcus came with me, along with Victoria. Mrs. Clark, Detective Morrison began, his voice professional but tired. Jessica Morrison has made serious allegations against you. She claims you deliberately tampered with the condoms that caused her and your husband's injuries. I'm aware of what she claims, Detective. She's been harassing me for months. He slid a folder across the table. She's provided some evidence. A receipt from a hardware store showing your husband made a purchase the week before the incident. She claims you were with him. I wasn't with Ryan that day. As I've stated before, he packed his own luggage and made his own preparations for his trip. Can you account for your whereabouts that day? I was at work. I'm a freelance graphic designer. I work from home. I have time-stamped files and client emails to prove it, Victoria jumped in. Detective, my client has cooperated fully with this investigation from the beginning. Mrs. Morrison, on the other hand, has a clear motive to lie. She's attempting to deflect from her own responsibility in destroying 2 marriages. She's also demonstrated increasingly unstable behavior, including social media harassment and threatening phone calls. The calls are on record, I added, pulling out my phone. All saved, all documented. Jessica has threatened me multiple times. Detective Morrison reviewed the evidence with a weary expression. After a long silence, he closed the folder. Mrs. Clark, here's where we are. Legally, there's insufficient evidence to charge you with anything. The physical evidence points to manufacturing contamination. Jessica Morrison's accusations are based on speculation and circumstantial observation. Without concrete proof, video footage, witnesses, forensic evidence, this case goes nowhere. Relief rushed through me. However, he continued, fixing me with a hard stare, I want you to know that I know. Maybe I can't prove it in court, but I know. You're too calm, too prepared, too convenient in your alibis. And your friend Rachel? Her statement has inconsistencies that suggest coaching. Detective, Victoria started, but he held up a hand. I'm not pursuing this further. Not because I don't believe Mrs. Morrison, but because proving it would require resources we don't have for a case where the victims were engaged in an extramarital affair, and where one of them, your husband, has already benefited from a manufacturing lawsuit settlement. Ryan had settled. That was news to me, so I'm free to go? You're free to go, Morrison confirmed. But Mrs. Clark? Remember what I said at the grocery store. One perfect crime is genius. Don't push your luck. Outside the police station, I collapsed against Marcus's car, shaking with released tension. It's over, Marcus said, holding me. It's really over. He knows, Marcus. Morrison knows what I did, but he can't prove it. And he's not going to try. Marcus lifted my chin. Emma, you won, completely. Ryan's impotent and broke. That settlement went mostly to medical bills. Jessica's barren and isolated. No one wants to be friends with a homewrecker. And you? You have your freedom, your dignity, and a future. A future with you? If you'll have me. I thought about everything that had led to this moment. The betrayal, the revenge, the unlikely alliance that had become something more. Yes, I said. I'll have you. 6 months later, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, looking at the woman reflected back at me. She looked different from the Emma Clark who'd found those condoms in a briefcase. Harder, wiser, freer. The divorce from Ryan had been finalized 3 months ago. I got the house, the car, and a generous settlement. Ryan, unable to work full-time due to depression and physical limitations, was living in a small apartment his parents were paying for. Last I heard, he'd tried to reconnect with Jessica, but she wanted nothing to do with him. She blamed him for ruining her life. Funny how that worked out. Marcus's divorce from Jessica had been messier. She'd fought for alimony, claiming mental distress. But the judge, seeing evidence of her infidelity and her increasingly erratic behavior, had ruled against her. She got nothing. Marcus and I had gone public with our relationship 2 months ago. The reactions were mixed. His parents had disowned him. My parents, surprisingly, were supportive. Anyone who makes you smile like that can't be all bad, my mother had said. Our friends had split into camps. Some thought we were terrible people taking advantage of a tragedy. Others thought we were survivors who'd found each other in the aftermath of betrayal. We lost some people we thought were close friends. but we gained others. Rachel had distanced herself from me after the final police interview. I understood. What we'd done, had crossed a line for her, but she never told anyone the truth. That counted for something. Today was special. Marcus had asked me to meet him at the park, where we'd had our first official date as a couple. As I walked the familiar path, I thought about the question that had been haunting me for months. Did I regret it? The answer was complicated. I regretted the pain I'd caused Marcus. He'd lost his brother, even though that brother had betrayed him. Family ties are complex, and I'd cut his with a permanent blade. I regretted involving Rachel, putting her career and ethics at risk for my revenge. I regretted the darkness I'd discovered inside myself, the capacity for calculated cruelty, the satisfaction I'd felt watching Ryan suffer. But did I regret stopping Ryan and Jessica, making them face consequences for their betrayal? No. Maybe that made me a terrible person. Maybe it meant the old Emma Clark really was dead, replaced by someone colder and more ruthless. Or maybe it just meant I'd finally learned that being kind doesn't mean being weak, and that protecting yourself isn't the same as being a villain. Marcus was waiting by the fountain, holding flowers. When he saw me, his whole face lit up. "Hey, you. Hey, yourself." He handed me the flowers, daisies my favorite. "I have something to ask you." My heart skipped. "What?" "Move in with me, officially. No more splitting time between houses, no more sneaking around worrying about what people think. Just us, building a life together." I looked at this man who'd chosen to stand by me despite everything, who'd helped me cover up a crime, who'd fallen in love with the darkest version of me and stayed anyway. "Yes," I said. "Absolutely yes." As we walked back to the car, hand in hand, I passed a newsstand. The headline on a tabloid caught my eye. "Local man wins $2 million in defective product lawsuit. Ryan." The settlement had come through. For a moment, rage flared. He'd profited from his own infidelity, from the consequences I'd inflicted, but then I realized money wouldn't give him back what he'd lost. His sexual function, his career, his family, his self-respect. He'd spend the rest of his life as a cautionary tale, the man who threw away everything for an affair and paid the ultimate price. That was worth more than any lawsuit victory. 3 months after that, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Emma?" It was Jessica's voice, but different, smaller, broken. "What do you want, Jessica?" I wanted to apologize." Silence. "I know it's too late. I know you probably hate me, but I need to say it. What I did to you, to Marcus, it was unforgivable. I destroyed 2 marriages, hurt people who trusted me, and for what? Ryan doesn't even speak to me anymore. No one does. Jessica, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I understand now. What I lost, what I threw away, and I'm sorry." She hung up before I could respond. I stood there, phone in hand, feeling nothing. Not satisfaction. Not pity, just emptiness. Marcus found me like that, staring at my phone. "Everything okay?" Jessica called. She apologized. "What did you say?" "Nothing." She hung up before I could. "Do you wish you'd said something?" I thought about it. "No, there's nothing to say. What's done is done." Marcus pulled me into his arms. "You know what I love about you? You don't pretend. You don't act like you're some forgiving saint. You just are who you are. A woman who poisoned her cheating husband's condoms. A woman who refused to be a victim," he corrected. "There's a difference, was there?" I wasn't sure anymore. So, ladies and gentlemen, what did I learn from all of this? That revenge is sweet? No, it's not sweet. It's bitter and complicated, and it changes you in ways you can't predict. That cheaters deserve to suffer? Maybe. But suffering doesn't undo the betrayal. It doesn't heal the wounds. Here's what I actually learned. First, trust your instincts. When something feels wrong in your relationship, it probably is. Don't let anyone gaslight you into believing you're crazy. You're not crazy. You're paying attention. Second, betrayal reveals character. Not just the character of the person who betrayed you, but your own. How you respond to being hurt shows you who you really are underneath all the social conditioning and niceness. Third, justice and revenge aren't the same thing, but sometimes they overlap. The legal system doesn't always protect the betrayed. Sometimes you have to protect yourself. Fourth, every action has consequences. I gave Ryan and Jessica consequences for their actions. But I also created consequences for myself. I have to live with what I did. I have to look in the mirror every day, knowing I'm capable of that level of calculation and cruelty. Fifth, love can grow in strange places. Marcus and I built our relationship on the ashes of our destroyed marriages. That's not romantic or wholesome, but it's real. And sometimes real is better than romantic. And finally, there are no heroes or villains in stories like this. Just people making choices, living with consequences, and trying to move forward. Did I go too far? Probably. Would I do it again? I honestly don't know. Am I happy now? Yes, but it's a complicated happiness, tinged with guilt and shadows. If you're in a situation like mine, if you've discovered betrayal, if you're drowning in pain and rage, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to say be the bigger person, or forgive and move on, or get revenge. What I will say is this: whatever you choose, make sure you can live with it. Because consequences aren't just for the people who hurt you. They're for you too. And 10 years from now, when you look in the mirror, you need to be okay with the person looking back. I'm working on being okay with mine. Some days are easier than others, but I'm free. And I'm alive. And I'm building a new life with someone who sees all of me, the light and the dark, and loves me anyway. Is that redemption? Is that justice? Is that just me justifying my actions? I don't know, but it's my truth, and sometimes that has to be enough.